Save us, friends! Watch the video until the end so we can escape from here. Hello, everyone. So, are you ready to defeat all these running heads? Today, we're going to escape from the running head.
Yes, hey guys, but this won't be easy because there are tough challenges ahead. Please give us a like. It will really help us. And watch until the end so we can defeat everyone.
Exactly, Dobie. But since we're sheriffs, nothing will scare us. Except, well, I'll tell you about that at the end, because everyone has their secrets.
Look, the first running head, but it's very slow so we can ignore it. Ah, this is easy. But what's ahead of us?
Don't lose vigilance. There might be a lot of traps around.
This maze is simple. There's no ceiling so we can peek and see where to go.
Great, behind this barrier, they won't catch us.
I want to see how smart they are.
That was risky, but I love taking risks too. It's part of our job.
Yes, the key is always to plan your actions and have a backup plan for unexpected situations.
Look, they're getting closer. We need to stay alert.
They move strangely and are now stuck together. It looks like they're kissing. Weird.
I can't even imagine how they walk without legs.
Look, a giant head is blocking the way to the finish. We need to find a way to bypass it.
I see. This looks like a focus test. We took these when we became sheriffs.
There are 3 heads in a narrow passage. We'll have to use parkour skills.
Oh no, they're kissing again. Let's turn away so we don't get distracted. Maybe they're doing this on purpose to confuse us.
It looks like that giant head, but fortunately, it's slow and not very smart. We'll easily outsmart it.
Seems like we're close to the end of the first stage. It's just around the corner. Oh, there was a trap here. That's what happens when you lose focus. But since we're not on a mission, it's not scary. Play for fun, guys. You're right. This ladder leads to the portal to the next stage. Let's go.
Looks like we're in some wooden house. There are 2 doors. Let's go left.
He's standing with his back to us, though he doesn't have a back. I think he's facing us.
We need to slip through quickly while he's distracted by the other hole in the wall.
He's standing with his back to us, though he doesn't have a back. I think he's facing us. I don't even know. Oh, I wanted to say that I don't know where to go. Why is he standing? This is unpredictable.
I think this is designed to scare us. Where to go? I'm not sure. Since the monitor can't emit smells, we can't rely on instincts, so we're going blindly. The key is not to turn around so we don't end up back at the start.
Great. We've reached the checkpoint. We're halfway through the maze. Checkpoints aren't placed for no reason. There may be danger ahead.
Oh, let's quickly slip through the gap before that head wakes up. Another checkpoint, great.
This is a new element of the challenge. We need to turn at the right time so the head doesn't catch us in its mouth.
Oh my God, we got distracted and missed the turn. It's okay. We got the point and we'll quickly go back. Remember, Lab, when we used to play horror games as kids?
Of course, those evenings with popcorn and the old computer. We cursed that creepy monastery so many times.
I wonder how that influenced our work now.
I think it taught us not to panic in the dark. Remember when we first faced that case in the abandoned mine?
Yes, all those sounds and rustling. It felt like something out of an old game.
But thanks to our childhood obsession, we stayed calm and figured it out. No mysticism, just work.
And strangely, it still helps us. I'm glad we spent those horror-filled evenings together.
Me too, Dobie. In our world, every day feels like a horror movie, but we're always ready.
We're on stage 3. Let's keep going. Looks like another maze.
I hope it will be more interesting and challenging. The first one was boring.
It was just preparing us. There are many new mobs at this level. They scared me. Terrifying.
An amazing story took place in our animal town, one that began with very strange events. It all started when we noticed a strange glow in the sky. It didn't look like a regular meteor, and we immediately realized that something was happening. Soon, much to our surprise, aliens appeared from this glow. They were quite unusual. Imagine, they looked like running heads from a Roblox game. These creatures wore bright costumes and were full of enthusiasm.
When they landed, they declared that they didn't come to harm our city, but to become our fans. They loved everything related to our adventures, our city, and they even started copying us, recording our actions and movements just in case. We thought it was just a joke, but when they began setting up fan clubs and running ads about us on their planet, we realized something was wrong.
And that's when the most interesting part began. The aliens told us that they weren't just fans, but that they actually wanted to take over our city and turn it into their fan zone. They were ready to build monuments, organize festivals, and take all of us to their planet to make us symbols of their culture. But that wouldn't be very convenient for us, right? We like our city here, and we weren't planning to move to some foreign place that doesn't suit us.
And so, when we realized that the aliens were seriously determined, we decided to take action. You can't just stop them because they weren't just huge fans, they were also very powerful beings. We needed to come up with something special. And then, Labrador and I came up with a brilliant idea. We decided to create our clones and send them to the alien planet. The clones would essentially be our doubles, entertaining the aliens and showing them that our place on Earth is our home, not their planet.
We turned to our best engineers and inventors, and they helped us create unique cloning devices. With this technology, we created several copies of ourselves, identical to us, but of course, without our memories and personal lives. We sent them to the alien planet. The clones began to work for the aliens, entertaining them and showing them how to properly set up a fan club and, most importantly, how to live in peace and harmony.
When the aliens saw these doubles, they were so amazed that they couldn't believe their eyes. Our clones did everything they were asked to do, and even more. Soon, the aliens realized that their love for our city didn't need to be so obsessive. They understood that we love our city and want to stay here with our friends and family.
In the end, the aliens agreed that our city would stay on Earth and they would return to their planet. We offered them to stay as our friends, not fans, but real friends. As a token of gratitude, they gave us some interesting technologies and promised not to interfere in our affairs anymore. They even built a fan zone for themselves, where they could read about our city and follow our adventures without disturbing us.
And so, the animal city was safe again, and the aliens no longer tried to take us over. Everything ended peacefully, and we all returned to our usual activities. We learned that it's important to respect each other's boundaries, even if someone adores you. And the clones who helped us buy time went down in history as our loyal helpers.
We're going to tell you a story that happened in our town. It all started with rumors. Someone had settled in the forest not far from the town, and everything that people brought there was disappearing. At first, small things, then bigger items. The townspeople started to panic, but Dobie and I decided that it was probably just a rumor. After all, there's always an explanation for everything.
But when Mr. Bobby's toys disappeared, we realized we needed to act. I wasn't too scared, but something wasn't right. Labrador and I decided to check the forest, even though we didn't believe in the supernatural. As soon as we approached the forest, I felt that something strange was going on. It was eerily quiet, and suddenly I heard a strange sound, like something moving on the ground. And then, from the shadows, a strange figure emerged.
I was ready for anything, but this was something I wasn't expecting. The shadow was tall with long arms, and its eyes glowed like two fires in the night. Dobie and I froze, and it was clear that this wasn't an ordinary creature. We started moving forward, but everything around us seemed wrong. The forest became unnaturally silent, and there were no rustling leaves, no sounds from the animals. We soon reached the center of the forest, where there was a strange tree, and that's where everything had been happening.
Under the tree, we found a strange hole. Inside was an old book. Everything around was covered in dust, and the pages of the book were charred. We realized that this wasn't just any book, but an ancient artifact linked to dark forces. Inside were descriptions of rituals that allowed the opening of gateways between worlds. And that's when we understood that something dark was beginning to seep into our world.
Suddenly, we heard that same rustling sound again. Something was moving in our direction. It was the same shadow. We couldn't wait any longer. Grabbing the book, we began to read aloud, trying to find a way to stop it. At that moment, the shadow started approaching at incredible speed, but there was no turning back. We began to chant the incantation, and right before us, the light started to dim, and then the shadow disappeared.
The darkness that had enveloped the forest began to dissipate. When we returned to the town, the townspeople were in shock over what had happened, but we calmed them down. The forest was quiet again, but we knew we had to stay prepared. We don't fully understand what we encountered, but one thing was clear. The danger was real.
Well, friends, our battle with that huge running head is over. But that's not all. Soon we'll tackle the next parts. This was a real challenge, and I'm sure we were lucky to find the exit in time. Just look at this massive chaos it left behind.
Yes, Labrador, it was a real nightmare. The entire map was full of traps, and we barely managed to escape from it. But in the end, we showed that we're not afraid of such challenges. Even though the head was constantly chasing us, we found the strength and bravely overcame all the obstacles.
Every day in our city starts differently. Sometimes it's peaceful, patrolling the streets, handling complaints, rescuing kittens from trees. And sometimes it turns into a real nightmare. Today was, without a doubt, one of the worst. I had just poured myself a cup of coffee when the radio crackled sharply, and the dispatcher's voice came through with such urgency that my morning drowsiness disappeared instantly. Something strange was happening at the Central City Hospital. Witnesses reported eerie sounds, screams, and laughter. Yes, genuine, sinister laughter echoing through the hospital's speakers. As I processed this information, the door to the station burst open and Dobie rushed in. He was holding a box of donuts, but the moment he saw my face, he set it down on the table, forgetting about breakfast. I briefly explained the situation, and within minutes, we were racing toward the scene in our police car.
When we arrived, it was immediately clear. This wasn't a normal call. All the hospital windows were covered with black curtains, and on the glass of the main entrance hung a strange poster. A perfect smile is the key to life. Below the words was a terrifying grin with perfectly straight but unnaturally sharp teeth. A crowd had gathered outside. People murmured in fear, some trying to call their loved ones inside. But no one answered. The hospital seemed like a sealed-off world, one that no one could enter or leave. As soon as we approached the doors, a voice boomed from the speakers. Deep, hoarse, but with fake cheerfulness. "Welcome to the Center for the Perfect Smile, Sheriffs. We've been expecting you." Then, with a loud click, the doors groaned open.
Usually, when doors open by themselves, it's a sign you should stay away. But we had no choice. There could be injured people, hostages, or worse inside. We stepped in. Inside, an eerie silence reigned. The dim lights flickered, making it feel like we had entered an abandoned clinic. Medical posters hung everywhere, but their messages were distorted. Everyone must smile. Don't be afraid, this won't hurt. Your teeth belong to me. I took a step forward and suddenly felt something sticky under my paws. Looking down, I saw the floor covered in a substance resembling toothpaste, but with a strong chemical smell.
The hallway stretched forward, leading us deeper into the hospital. We could hear faint noises, like whispering behind the walls, but too indistinct to understand. A shiver ran down my spine. Suddenly, a man in a white coat dashed around the corner. He was gasping for breath, his eyes filled with terror. A doctor! He grabbed my arm, squeezing it so tightly that I knew he was on the edge of panic. Stop him! Stop him before it's too late! He wheezed. But before we could ask him anything, a deafening alarm blared, and the doctor convulsed as if struck by electricity. I turned just in time to see a mechanical arm extend from the wall, ending in a long, gleaming needle. It stabbed into the doctor's neck. He froze, then slowly collapsed to the floor. We stepped back. "Disobedient patients shouldn't be wandering around the hospital," the voice from the speakers sneered.
It was clear now. Everything here was automated, and one person was controlling this madness. The twisted dentist who had taken over the hospital. We moved forward, passing rooms filled with horrifying tools. In one of them, a dental chair stood surrounded by mechanical arms, each holding sharp instruments. X-rays lined the walls, but they weren't normal. Every jaw on them had elongated, pointed teeth, as if someone had deliberately altered them. Dobie muttered a curse under his breath. We needed to find the head doctor, or someone from the staff who could explain what was happening.
We reached the main hall, where a massive statue stood in the center of a tooth, a giant, gleaming human tooth, enlarged dozens of times. Its surface shone as if it were made of real enamel. Then he appeared. A loud screech echoed from the speakers, followed by an eerily cheerful voice. "Oh, finally! I've been waiting for you, sheriffs." We turned and saw a figure emerging from the shadows, tall and thin, dressed in a long white coat, yet moving with an unnerving puppet-like fluidity. His yellow-lensed glasses reflected the dim light, and his mouth stretched into an unnatural grin. "Dr. Pearl at your service? Ready for your checkup?"
I clenched my teeth and stepped forward, But suddenly the walls began to shift. The floor trembled, and the giant tooth statue started splitting open, revealing a deep, dark shaft beneath it. You won't leave until your treatment is complete. That's when I realized it was a trap. We were standing in the center of the room, surrounded by walls that were slowly closing in.
We had little time. I spotted a control panel near the door and rushed toward it. At the last second, I managed to hack the system and the walls stopped moving. But that was just the beginning. Dr. Pearl clapped his hands and figures began emerging from the shaft beneath the statue. Patients, but twisted. Their mouths were frozen in wide, grotesque smiles, and in their hands they clutched massive metallic toothbrushes. We braced ourselves for the final battle.
When the patients began crawling out of the shaft, their mouths unnaturally stretched into wide grins, clutching massive metallic toothbrushes in their hands, I realized they weren't just hypnotized hostages. Their movements were jerky, mechanical, as if someone was controlling them like puppets. Dr. Pearl stood off to the side, arms crossed over his chest, watching with pleasure. The flickering lights cast his elongated shadow on the walls, making him seem even taller. Dobie and I exchanged glances. We had to come up with something fast before we were completely surrounded. I was the first to charge forward, ducking under the massive toothbrush swung by one of the patients. He smashed it into the floor, shattering it into pieces, but immediately, as if on command, two more lunged at me, aiming their strange weapons at my head.
I knew Pearl was controlling them, but how? We needed to find the source of the signal. I blocked a toothbrush strike, kicking the nearest patient's arm. He flinched but kept moving, as if he couldn't feel pain. Then I noticed it. Each of them had a small metallic box embedded in the skin at the back of their necks. I understood. These were control devices. Labrador was fighting off 3 at once, while I jumped at the closest patient and ripped the box from his neck. A strange crackling noise sounded, and he instantly collapsed to the floor like a broken toy. "They're connected to a system!" I shouted. "We have to disable the main transmitter!" Dr. Pearl laughed, his teeth gleaming under the flickering lights.
I knocked one of the patients aside and quickly scanned the room. There had to be a control center somewhere in this hall. That's when I noticed a metallic panel on the wall, standing out among the hospital's old-fashioned decor. Without hesitation, I yanked out my baton and hurled it straight at the panel. A loud screech followed, sparks flying in all directions. For a second, the patients froze, but then they started moving again. The transmitter had to be somewhere else. Pearl sighed and took a step forward. "What a disappointment, sheriffs. I thought you were smarter."
And then I saw it. Under his lab coat, something faintly glowed on his chest. A barely noticeable green light. I remembered how old radio transmitters worked. Sometimes, to distribute a signal across an entire system, the host had to be at the center of it. That could only mean one thing. Pearl himself was the main transmitter. I signaled Labrador and pretended to attack from the front. Pearl smirked, but in that moment, Labrador lunged from the side, pulled out a taser, and pressed it directly to the evil dentist's chest. Electricity surged through his body, and he convulsed like a mannequin on broken springs. At that moment, all the patients around us froze, then slowly began to collapse to the floor. Their hands no longer gripped the oversized toothbrushes, and their faces, now free of those grotesque smiles, showed only exhaustion and confusion.
Dr. Pearl fell to his knees, his pristine lab coat now crumpled and stained. You don't understand?" He gasped, his voice suddenly uncertain. I grabbed him by the collar. "We understand just fine. You wanted to turn everyone into your test subjects, but your hospital is closed for good."
As we cuffed him, the hospital doors finally unlocked, and our colleagues stormed inside. Doctors and patients began to regain consciousness, slowly realizing what had happened. I glanced at the giant tooth statue. It now looked utterly ridiculous. "You know," I said to Labrador, "after this, I definitely won't be visiting the dentist anytime soon." He chuckled. "Just don't forget to brush your teeth." We escorted Pearl outside. The setting sun painted the sky in dark hues. It was over. Another insane case. Closed. But just as we got into the car, the radio crackled to life. A new call. Labrador glanced at me, sighed, and started the engine.
"A baby is chasing me. Like and leave a comment to save me." Hello guys, we're in Roblox, and as you can see, we're in the escape from the big baby mode. I'm here, as always, in the role of the sheriff, ready to take on any challenge. We're in a daycare, but this is not the daycare I remember. Dobie and I have to save it because something terrible is happening right now. A mutant baby has taken over this world, and we need to navigate its traps and challenges to reach the end. Dobie, are you ready?
Yes, Labrador, I'm ready. I can see we've gotten ourselves into a serious mess, but no worries. The key is not to panic. This is the moment when every step counts. We need to be cautious and make quick decisions. You're right. This daycare isn't exactly what it should be. Everything's turned upside down. Our goal is to break through all these obstacles, find and defeat the mutant, and restore order to this world.
Exactly. First, we need to find a way through these blocked doors. According to the map, there are a few tough sections ahead. We have to be on guard because this mutant is definitely not resting. Look, over there. Behind that toy, something's moving in the shadows. Are you ready, Dobie?
All right, Labrador, it's time to act. If we stick together, no challenge will be too big for us. This place, I understand, is going to test us every step of the way. But honestly, I'd rather face an army of mutants than deal with a couple of random parkour obstacles. So, let's go. Let's do this.
You're right, Dobie. Let's do this. Let's see what challenges await us. I'm already ready to jump over these obstacles. I hope you're not scared.
Scared? You're the one who's scared. I know how to survive in the toughest situations. We've saved this world more than once, and this time will be no different. Just be ready, because I think the toughest challenge awaits us at the end. An army of mutants. But we're not the type to back down.
That's exactly what I wanted to hear. All right, let's move forward. We're almost there. I feel like this mutant army isn't just a crowd. They're real monsters. But I think they're not ready for two sheriffs at our level. Dobie, when we get to them, let's act fast and in sync.
No panic, Labrador. We're getting ready for the big moment. Our victory. We'll get through all the parkour, overcome any traps, and even if we face an army of babies, we'll handle it. Remember, it all depends on us. So let's go. Let's move forward.
Hello, friends. It's me, Sheriff Labrador, and Officer Dobie and I have an unusual story for you. Today, we're going to tell you how mutant babies took over our city. Things escalated quickly, and believe me, it was something strange. Dobie and I had just finished our patrol. The sun was shining. Everything was calm. But suddenly, we heard strange cries, like something unnatural. It didn't sound like the usual city noises.
When we got to the source of the sounds, I thought it was just mischief. Babies, what could they do? But when I saw these little creatures, I realized these were no ordinary kids. Small, with green eyes, they began to gather, and there was something in their gaze that made me uneasy. They looked like they knew exactly what they were doing.
And that's when I realized something was wrong. Mutants, even ones this small, were far more dangerous than we thought. They began moving through the streets like an organized group. They quickly took control of one of the districts. I saw one of them approach a streetlight and, believe it or not, turn it on. These kids weren't what we expected.
It wasn't just strange, it was terrifying. I thought they were helpless, but these mutants somehow hacked the security systems and began blocking the streets, fast. And they weren't just crawling around, they were actively taking control of the area, as if they knew exactly how to do it. I realized we needed to act immediately.
I suggested we split up. I'll take control of the streets and you, Dobie, protect the headquarters. We needed to act in coordination before these mutants took over the whole city.
You're right. We needed to block the key points quickly. I went to the headquarters, hoping I could organize a defense. The mutants didn't stop. They moved with such confidence. But when I got there, I realized they were already at the doorstep. It was too late to block the headquarters, so I had to find another way out.
I was struggling to break through their ranks, but they had become so strong that it was clear. Brute force alone wouldn't help. These little mutants knew how to control the city. The mutants weren't just taking the streets, they started controlling the electricity, water supply, and systems. They could hack anything.
And that's when I realized they weren't just taking over the territory. They could destroy infrastructure like real manipulators. I started working with the team to create barricades. But even with barricades, it wasn't easy. These mutants used their abilities to bypass our traps. They acted too smoothly.
Realizing we needed to act even faster, I gathered a group. The mutants were tightening the ring around the city. But no matter how hard we tried, they wouldn't stop. Every time we thought we had them cornered, they'd show up on the other side. And this was just the beginning.
Labrador and I knew we had to proceed with maximum caution. The whole team was on standby. We needed to not just defend the city, but take it back under control. The mutants were smart and quickly adapted to our actions, but we didn't give up.
Every minute was worth its weight in gold. Dobie and I realized that regular methods wouldn't help. We needed something radically new to stop the mutants. I gathered a group of officers to try to block their paths. We knew they weren't just attacking, they were following a plan. They didn't need much time to figure out how to act.
Labrador and I understood that we couldn't just run around the city trying to overpower them. These mutants were too smart for that. We needed to find their weak spot. I suggested trying to use their own abilities against them. If they were so good at controlling technology, maybe we could set traps using the same systems.
Dobie was right. We quickly built a few traps using the city's disabled systems. We triggered old alarms and loud sounds to confuse the mutants. But, as it turned out, they were ready for that too. When we started activating the traps, one of the mutants seemed to notice our move right away. He approached the control panel and literally turned off all our devices in a second. We didn't even have time to figure out how it happened.
These little guys started playing with us. Their intellect turned out to be far more developed than we thought. They controlled everything, from the old panels to communication systems. We started feeling like we were losing control. But Labrador didn't give up. He suggested going back to the old plan and luring the mutants into the city center. We set up a few fake groups at different points to distract them.
I knew it was risky, but we had no choice. We placed fake patrols in the most unexpected places, and it worked. The mutants went to where they thought we were, but they didn't expect that we would actually be in their center. As soon as they started focusing on the false targets, Dobie and my team slipped into their rear.
When we were among them, it was already too late. The mutants realized they had been tricked and began to tighten the ring around us. But we had one last chance. We launched the local barricade system to slow them down. This was the turning point. The mutants started retreating, realizing they couldn't handle such a trap.
We caught them in the trap, but they didn't give up. The little mutants tried to break through, using all their abilities. But we didn't let them escape. Time passed, and with every moment, we were getting closer to victory.
After a long standoff, we finally gained the upper hand. The mutants began to lose control. Their strength weakened. We managed to restore order to the city, but one thing was clear. We had to be ready for another attack.
Yes, we won, but the cost was high. This time we managed to regain control of the city, but who knows what will happen next? These mutants won't just disappear.
Next time, we'll be ready. We've learned an important lesson. Mutant babies are not just toys. They can be more dangerous than we thought. But we will protect our city, no matter what.
After we won, the city slowly began to return to normal life. But in our hearts, the fear remained. We couldn't forget just how dangerous those little mutants turned out to be. No matter how hard we tried to relax, the thought that they might return haunted us. These kids weren't just helpless babies. They were something else, something hard to deal with.
Exactly, Labrador. We couldn't afford to let our guard down. We started working hard to improve the security systems, including installing new sensors and cameras that would allow us to detect any threat earlier. But even with these measures, we knew this wasn't the end. Deep down, I felt that they could come back. And if they did, they would be even stronger.
You're right, Dobie. But right now, we need to focus on preparing for our next encounter with them. And not just with them, but with any other potential threats. We've become stronger after this experience. The city is beginning to recover, but you and I, Officer Dobie, have a lot more work ahead of us. These aren't just local problems. We must be ready for any challenge that comes to our city.
I'm with you, Labrador. We're in this together, and that gives me confidence. You know, sometimes it feels like this was just a warning. Maybe there are other forces out there that haven't revealed themselves yet. But one thing I know for sure, if they come back, we'll be ready. We will protect this city from any threats, whether they're mutants, technology, or something much more dangerous.
But now, Dobie, let's take a little break from everything that's happened. We've done our job, but always remember, we are the ones standing guard over this city. The day started peacefully. Dobie and I were sipping our morning coffee at the station, getting ready for our usual patrol. The streets were quiet, the citizens were going about their daily routines, and nothing seemed out of the ordinary. But everything changed when the phone rang. On the other end, we heard the trembling voice of a kindergarten teacher from Happy Tales Daycare. She was gasping in terror, almost screaming. "The daycare has been taken over. A giant dinosaur broke through the entrance, roaring and not letting the children out." Then, the call was abruptly cut off. Dobie and I exchanged glances. No questions asked. We jumped into our patrol car and sped off toward the daycare at full speed.
On the way there, I tried to make sense of what I had just heard. A dinosaur? Was this some kind of joke? But the fear in the teacher's voice was too real for it to be a prank. When we arrived, all doubt disappeared. The entrance door was smashed, part of the fence was crushed, and scattered toys, torn books, and children's backpacks littered the ground. And most importantly, standing right in front of the building was a massive green dinosaur. Its skin glistened under the sun, and its red eyes gleamed menacingly. It swayed its tail as if listening to the sounds around it. From inside the daycare, we could hear the terrified cries of children. The situation was critical.
The first thing we did was assess the area. Behind the playground slide, a small group of children were huddled together, trembling. They needed to be evacuated immediately. The dinosaur noticed us and let out a deafening roar. The ground trembled beneath our feet. It stepped forward, scraping the ground with its massive claws. I took a step forward, drawing its attention. Meanwhile, Dobie started sneaking around from the other side. Our plan was simple. One distracts, the other gets inside. The dinosaur didn't give me a break. It suddenly lunged at me, but I jumped back just in time. We had to move fast.
While Labrador kept the monster occupied, I sneaked around to the back entrance. The door was locked, but through the window, I saw the teachers and children huddled in a corner. I knocked gently, signaling that I was here to help. One of the teachers opened the door, and I saw the little ones clutching each other, whimpering in fear. They told me that the dinosaur had appeared out of nowhere. It had simply smashed through the fence and started roaring, trapping everyone inside. I gestured for them to stay quiet. We needed to get them out unnoticed.
Meanwhile, I continued dodging the dinosaur's attacks. Then, I noticed something strange. A panel with buttons was glinting on its neck. This dinosaur was mechanical. Someone was controlling it. But who? And why? I didn't have time to think. I had to keep it away from the building while Dobie evacuated the children. I banged loudly on a metal trash can, drawing the dinosaur's attention. It turned its head toward me, growled, and took a step forward.
I led the children out in small groups. We moved quietly to avoid drawing the monster's attention. The teachers helped, keeping the kids calm. Once the last child was outside, we pressed against the wall, watching Labrador. He was skillfully dodging the dinosaur, but he couldn't keep it up forever. Then I noticed a huge water tank on the roof. If we could lure the dinosaur underneath it, we might be able to disable it. I signaled to Labrador. We always understood each other without words.
I immediately understood his idea. We had to lure the dinosaur directly under the tank. I took a few steps back, leading the monster toward me. As expected, it followed, roaring furiously. When it was right under the tank, Dobie gave me the final signal. At the last moment, I leaped out of the way.
I pulled the lever, and a powerful stream of water came crashing down on the dinosaur. It started jerking and sparking. We held our breath. A few seconds later, it froze, then slowly collapsed onto its side. Silence. Everyone stared at the lifeless monster. The children started clapping. The teachers sighed in relief. We did it!
As we stepped closer, I noticed a strange emblem on the dinosaur's body. It was the logo of an old laboratory that had been shut down years ago. So someone was still working on its projects. The real question was, why build a mechanical dinosaur? And why attack a daycare? We had saved the children, but we knew this was just the beginning. A new mystery had just begun, and I knew we would solve it.
This day was full of surprises. We defeated a mechanical dinosaur, saved the children, but there were too many unanswered questions. Who built this monster? Why target a daycare? And would there be another attack? But for now, our job was done. The teachers and children were safe, and Labrador and I knew if our city was ever threatened again, we would be ready.
The day started as usual. Coffee, reports, and post inspections. Everything was calm in the city of animals. Dobie and I were about to start our morning patrol when a raccoon named Timmy burst into the station. He looked frightened, his eyes darting around, and he was out of breath. He told us that his friend, the fox Rick, had disappeared. The last time anyone saw him, he was playing a new game, Poppy Playtime 4. Timmy swore he had seen Rick literally vanish into the screen. At first, we thought it was a joke or just childish fears, but then Timmy showed us his tablet. The game's loading screen was still glowing, and there, in the reflection of a store window inside the factory, was a silhouette. It looked just like Rick. I exchanged glances with Dobie. This all seemed impossible, but we couldn't ignore it. If the game was somehow pulling players inside, we needed to figure out why. We sat down in front of the screen. The title flickered, and then the words appeared. "Welcome to the Playtime Toy Factory. Enter your names to join." I typed in my name. Dobie did the same. The moment we pressed enter, the screen flashed, and darkness swallowed us.
When I opened my eyes, dim lighting surrounded us. We stood in a long corridor. Flickering lamps cast strange shadows on the walls. The air was stale, filled with dust and a strangely sweet scent, like old gummy candy. Labrador looked around. A poster on the wall read, "Welcome to Playtime Factory. Keep smiling." Below it stood a broken toy, a giant plush bear with an eerily wide grin. In the distance, we heard children's laughter. It was quiet, but it sent chills down my spine. We moved forward. The factory looked abandoned. Scattered toy parts lay on the floor, and the silence was only interrupted by the occasional creak of metal. Then we heard whispering.
Someone was there. I raised my paw, signaling Dobie to stay quiet. We carefully peeked around the corner. In the darkness, trembling, was Rick the fox. His fur was ruffled, and his wide eyes darted nervously. He said he didn't know how he got here. One moment he was just playing the game, and the next he was trapped inside. Since then, he had been hiding because they were coming for him. I wanted to ask who they were, but before I could, a loud crash echoed through the hall.
Dust rained from above. We turned sharply. At the end of the corridor, something moved in the shadows. A tall figure with long arms and glowing eyes stood motionless, watching us. It could attack at any moment. I grabbed Rick's paw and pulled him with me. We had to run. We sprinted forward, jumping over debris and broken crates. Heavy footsteps thundered behind us. The creature was chasing us.
We darted into a security room and slammed the door shut behind us. Inside, dozens of monitors displayed different parts of the factory. On one of them, I saw the figure wandering the halls. It tilted its head as if sniffing the air. Rick told us this wasn't the only monster. The factory belonged to a strange entity that played with its visitors like they were toys. The only way out was to reach the main terminal and shut down the system.
We navigated through the toy assembly line where mechanical arms tried to grab our tails. Then we crossed a storage room filled with eerie stuffed animals that seemed to shift positions when we weren't looking. Finally, we reached the terminal, but there was a problem. A keypad locked the system. Rick remembered seeing a code somewhere, but he couldn't recall where. Then the lights began to flicker.
A scraping sound echoed behind us. We turned and saw it. A towering figure resembling a toy clown stepped out of the shadows. Its head tilted from side to side, and a wide, unsettling grin was frozen on its face. I told Dobie to find the code while I stepped forward, trying to distract the monster.
I frantically searched, tossing papers and boxes aside. The monster lunged at Labrador, its long arms reaching out. Then I saw it, numbers scrawled on the wall. The first 4 digits are 1987. I ran to the terminal.
The creature roared and charged. I barely managed to dodge. Dobie typed the code. First digit, second, third. The monster was almost upon us.
On the way there, I tried to make sense of what I had just heard. A dinosaur? Was this some kind of joke? But the fear in the teacher's voice was too real for it to be a prank. When we arrived,
The day started peacefully. Dobie and I were sipping our morning coffee at the station, getting ready for our usual patrol. The streets were quiet. The citizens were going about their daily routines, and nothing seemed out of the ordinary. But everything changed when the phone rang. On the other end, we heard the trembling voice of a kindergarten teacher from Happy Tales Daycare. She was gasping in terror, almost screaming. The daycare has been taken over. A giant dinosaur broke through the entrance, roaring and not letting the children out. Then, the call was abruptly cut off. Dobie and I exchanged glances. No questions asked. We jumped into our patrol car and sped off toward the daycare. Hello, friends. Today, we have a dangerous new mission in Roblox. Dobie and I joined the Escape from Evil Grandma game mode and found ourselves trapped in a huge, strange building. It looks like a warehouse, but it has elements of a daycare and a school. Scattered everywhere are old toys, desks, lockers with textbooks, and random blankets. But the scariest part, this place is ruled by an evil grandma who has no intention of letting us leave. We have to escape before it's too late.
Yeah, Labrador, this place is terrifying. There are things everywhere that once belonged to kids, but now they're dusty and forgotten. The lights flicker, and the air smells like old furniture. I have a bad feeling. Grandma already knows we're here. We can't hear her footsteps yet, but that doesn't mean she's far away. We have to be extremely careful because there's no turning back. The doors behind us have already locked.
We look around. In front of us are long rows of tall shelves stacked with boxes and strange objects. Old dolls, school notebooks, torn backpacks. It looks like a collection from different time periods. We need to make our way through this maze, but something tells me there are traps ahead.
I noticed some boxes moving on their own. The warehouse seems alive. It looks like evil grandma has put a spell on this place. Suddenly, a loud thud echoes in the distance. Something just fell. We freeze. It could be just an old toy, but I have a feeling we're not alone.
Step by step, we move carefully through the warehouse, staying close together. Suddenly, we hear a loud creak. The door at the end of the corridor slowly opens by itself. It seems like the only way out, but as soon as we get closer, slam! The door slams shut. Grandma is playing with us. We need to find another way out.
We find a side passage and escape the warehouse. Now we're in an even creepier place, an old daycare. It must have been bright and cheerful once, but now it's different. Dolls with faded eyes sit in the corners. The walls are covered in drawings. Children, but their faces look scared. The swings creak on their own, even though there's no wind.
Every step here feels heavy. It's like the place itself doesn't want us to leave. The floor is covered in spilled paint, but it looks too dark to be paint. I have this strange feeling. We're being watched. Suddenly, we notice an old rocking chair in the corner. It's slowly moving back and forth, even though no one is sitting in it.
This is no coincidence. Grandma knows we're here. We need to get out of this area fast. We move through the rooms filled with broken toys and forgotten belongings. But once again, the exit is blocked. Grandma isn't going to let us go that easily.
See, finally, we escape the daycare and enter the school hallways. There are lockers everywhere, scattered books, and on the blackboard, someone has written, "You will never escape." This is starting to feel like a horror movie, but we're not afraid. We're sheriffs, and we will escape.
The silence is broken by a loud, piercing bell. The sound echoes through the hallways. This is definitely a trap. We speed up, but then we hear a creaky voice from around the corner. Grandma! She's here!
We hear her heavy footsteps. The floorboards creak beneath us, and the walls seem to move. We cannot stop. The hallway feels endless, but up ahead we see a door. Our only chance to escape. We sprint forward.
But Grandma is fast. Faster than she looks. She's already right behind us. Her long, bony hands reach out. We dive for the door and slip through just in time. Grandma bangs on the door angrily, but it's locked. We need to keep moving before she finds another way to get to us.
We find ourselves in a massive room. This must be the main warehouse hall. In the center stands a giant rocking chair, and the walls are covered in old photographs. But we don't have time to look around. Evil Grandma is here. Her cold eyes stare at us, and in her hands are huge knitting needles. She's not going to let us go without a fight.
She moves faster than we expected. Her heavy steps shake the floor, but she's quick. We dodge her attacks, trying to find her weak spots. We have to work together.
We use all our skills. The battle is intense, but we won't give up. Grandma tries to corner us, but we dodge just in time. Slowly, she starts to weaken.
One final move. We launch a decisive attack, and Grandma vanishes. The room becomes brighter. The warehouse and school return to normal. We did it. The exit door unlocks, and at last, we are free.
Phew, that was a tough mission, but we made it. Evil Grandma will no longer haunt this place. The warehouse, daycare, and school are back to normal. We restored order.
Great work, Labrador! We proved that even the scariest villains can't stop real sheriffs. Mission complete! We escaped. Now we're ready for our next adventure.
It was just an ordinary day in our town. Dobie and I were patrolling the streets, enjoying the peace, when suddenly the sky lit up with a strange flash. I barely had time to notice how the ground beneath us trembled, the air filled with electricity, and in the next moment, we were no longer where we were supposed to be. When I came to my senses, I saw massive skyscrapers before me. Glowing screens displayed the faces of famous superheroes. On one of the buildings, I saw a giant letter A. There was no doubt, we were in the Avengers Tower. Dobie and I had somehow ended up in the Marvel Universe.
At first, I thought it was just a dream, but everything felt too real. The hum of cars, the chatter of people, and the roar of strange metal creatures flying above us. Suddenly, a familiar red and gold figure flashed through the sky. Iron Man! Before we could figure out what to do next, Tony Stark was already hovering in front of us, scanning us with his system. Judging by his tone, he wasn't thrilled about the sudden appearance of two talking dogs in police uniforms. Without wasting time on questions, he ordered us to follow him to Avengers Tower.
Inside the tower, we met Captain America, Thor, Black Widow, and Hulk. Each of them curiously studied us. Dobie tried to explain that we ended up here by accident, but no one seemed surprised. Apparently, in their world, such things weren't unusual. Before we could even process everything, an alarm blared through the building. Loki's face appeared on the screen. He announced that he was opening a portal and unleashing an army of Chitauri. The city was in danger of another invasion. Dobie and I exchanged glances. There was no way we were sitting this one out.
Tony handed me a strange device. From his explanation, it could temporarily close portals. Meanwhile, Labrador grabbed the nearest shield, which turned out to be Captain America's spare. By the time we rushed outside, the battle had already begun. Chitauri swarmed the city, attacking civilians and destroying buildings. Iron Man soared through the air, firing at enemies. Thor struck with lightning, and Hulk just smashed everything in sight. I noticed a group of civilians trapped by the aliens. I had to act fast.
I covered Dobie, blocking several laser shots with the shield. He dashed forward and activated the device. A flash, and one of the portals collapsed. That's when we realized we could help the Avengers shut down the rifts faster. Captain America nodded at us and hurled his shield at another group of enemies. I couldn't resist. I mimicked his move and threw the shield I had. It struck two Chitauri and miraculously returned to my paws. The feeling was incredible. Then suddenly, Loki leaped at us from the rooftop.
I realized he had chosen us as an easy target, but before he could strike, Thor hit him with a bolt of lightning. Loki crashed to the ground but quickly got up, smirking. He said that even if we closed the portals, he would find another way to return. That made me uneasy. Did he have another plan? While Labrador and I kept Loki distracted, Tony worked on a device that could permanently shut all the portals. But time was running out.
Loki attacked again, this time using his magic. He created several illusions, making it impossible to spot the real him. But Dobie had an idea, using Tony's device against Loki himself. As soon as we activated it, Loki's magic glitched. The real Loki appeared right in front of us, disoriented. We couldn't waste this chance. Thor hurled his hammer, knocking Loki off his feet. At that exact moment, Tony finished calibrating the device and gave the signal.
I watched as the portals started collapsing one by one. The remaining Chitauri lost connection to their ships and fell powerless. The city was finally returning to normal. Loki was captured, and the Avengers thanked us for our help. Iron Man admitted that without us, the battle could have lasted much longer. But one question remained. How would we get home?
Tony and Doctor Strange worked together to find a way to send us back. They created a portal that would open a time rift leading home. We said our goodbyes to the Avengers, stepped through the portal, and
we woke up in our town. Everything was as it had been before. Quiet streets, peaceful citizens, just another normal day. But we knew it was real. We had an incredible story, one no one would ever believe. But most importantly, we proved that no matter the universe, we were still sheriffs, ready to fight for what's right.
It was a hot day, and Dobie and I were patrolling the waterfront, enjoying the peace and fresh air. Suddenly, a scream echoed through the air. We turned quickly and saw a person struggling in the water, unable to get out. The person was going under, and I knew we had to act fast. I jumped into the water, feeling the coldness pierce through my paws. Dobie didn't hesitate and threw me a life ring, which I grabbed and brought to the drowning person.
I stayed on the shore, watching the situation unfold. Labrador grabbed the life ring and began pulling the person toward us. I tightened the rope, helping them move forward. The water was rough, but Labrador didn't lose a second. When they reached the shore, I helped the person up. He was coughing and breathing heavily, but he was okay, though clearly shaken. We sat him on a bench and gave him some water.
The people standing nearby started approaching, some bringing towels, others offering help. We waited for the medics, who quickly examined the person. Fortunately, he had just swallowed some water and was in shock. But overall, everything turned out fine. Dobie and I exchanged glances. It was a challenging experience, but we handled it.
Once the person was okay, we resumed our patrol. Sometimes it feels like our job is just about catching criminals, but in reality, it's much more than that. We saved a life, and that was our most important.
Hello, friends. This is Sheriff Labrador and my faithful partner, Sheriff Dobie.
Hi, guys. Today we have something special for you. We are diving into the world of Roblox and playing the Escape Funnies Toy Shop mode.
In this mode, our main task is to escape from the creepy toy store, but it will be harder than it seems.
We'll have to hide and run from the terrifying toy that wants to trap us in its world.
Friends, hold on tight because it's going to be both fun and scary.
In this mode, we have 6 tough challenges, each testing our skills to the limit. We might even face the main toy boss at the end. It sounds frightening and exciting, but we can handle it because we are a team. We just turned on the lights to see better, and now we are heading into the ominous tunnel to find the exit.
This tunnel looks really spooky. I hope we don't encounter many traps.
The main thing is to be careful and stick together. Friends, keep your fingers crossed for us. A real challenge lies ahead.
What are these tracks? Some monster sneaked into the ventilation and left its tracks here. Maybe we could crawl through there and find the exit right away. But the vent is closed. We'll have to go through this creepy tunnel with broken pipes. Dobie, are you afraid to jump through this hot air?
No, I'm not afraid. Do you think I'm a coward? We've gone through many scary modes together. I'm almost used to them. By the way, it's better not to look down right now. Wait, do you hear that? Or is it just me?
I don't hear anything. We've encountered a real challenge. A scary maze, guys. This maze is not only complicated, but also full of dangers. A huge, terrifying toy will chase us if we don't find the exit in time. It will turn us into its toys.
This challenge will require our maximum mental and physical strength. The maze is huge, and we must be very careful to find the exit as quickly as possible. But don't worry, Labrador and I will guide you. And remember, friends,
this is just the first challenge in this mode. Ahead of us are many difficulties and puzzles. We must be ready for anything and never give up.
Hey, Labrador, this parkour is really tough. It seems we are facing the hardest challenges in this mode.
Indeed, Dobie, but this is just the beginning. We have a lot more ahead of us. By the way, do you remember what our friends said about the next challenge?
Oh, yes. They mentioned something about red and green colors. They said it's one of the most interesting challenges here. We need to be ready for anything.
I remember they said these colors are related to choosing a path or solving puzzles. We need to be alert and use our brains.
Exactly, Labrador. Let's leave the parkour behind and get ready for the next challenge. Remember, teamwork and attentiveness are our best allies here.
Absolutely, Dobie. Let's move forward. New challenges await us, and we must prove that sheriffs are not easily broken. Green light. Run, Labrador. Oh, wait, red light. Stop and don't move. Green light. Run, Dobie. Run. Just a bit more. You can do it. Oh no, stop, red light. No way out, or as they say. Or as...
Labrador, I almost lost because of you. Is something wrong with your reactions? The green light was on, and you only mentioned the red. Do you not know the difference between green and red?
Ha ha. Sorry, Dobie. I got a bit confused. Next time I'll pay more attention to the signals. Don't worry. I'll react faster in the next challenge.
We've passed the second challenge of this strange living toy, and now we just need to climb up and start the third challenge. Honestly, I thought it would be easier. This is the hardest challenge for us.
You're right. I hope you guys are subscribing to our channel and liking our efforts. These challenges are really tough, but the third challenge will be 100 times harder. I doubt our friend told the truth.
Hey, Labrador, look what's ahead. Our task is to climb this tower of toy blocks before this Titan toy robot catches and crushes us. Okay, Labrador, let's look at our options. These columns of blocks can be our cover. We can run between them to avoid the robot's grasp.
Great idea, Dobie. We can also use these toy blocks to slow down its movement. Throw them at its feet to create obstacles and gain valuable seconds.
Right, Labrador. And don't forget about teamwork. Coordinate our actions. One of us distracts the robot while the other circles the edge of the tower. This way, we can split its attention and gain more time.
Exactly, Dobie. Let's get to it. Let's show this robot who the real sheriffs are. Stick to the plan, and we'll definitely succeed.
Only 6 seconds left. I'm sure we can survive. If not, Labrador, you were the best friend I've ever had. Hooray! We managed to outsmart the Titan robot. Honestly, it was pretty dumb. Just a clumsy piece of metal destroying everything in its path.
I think we shouldn't have opened this door. It's really creepy here. It looks like the place where we need to find an exit and escape from the main character of this mode. Wish us luck, subscribers.
Hey, Labrador, look who's chasing us now. It's a living toy, and it's after us through this abandoned toy warehouse. We need to keep moving and not let it catch us, or we'll be its next victims.
Wow, Dobie, this is really terrifying. Let's use our knowledge and experience to get out of this situation. We must find a way to dodge it.
I see a machine ahead. Could it be an escape route? No, it doesn't look like it. There's lava down there. How is there lava in a toy store? Some monster must have created it while we were driving.
I wanted to tell you something yesterday. We received a call from the toy store owner. He said toys started disappearing, and all the surveillance cameras were turned off. This prompted Dobie and me to immediately head to the scene.
Yes, Labrador is right. When we arrived, the store seemed empty and abandoned, with toys and plush animals scattered everywhere.
We started the investigation and found Mr. and Mrs. Squirrel hiding in the far corner of the store. It turned out they were taking the toys, thinking they were for their children.
When we asked them why they didn't use the surveillance cameras, they said they didn't know how to turn them on and were just trying to do something nice for their kids.
In the end, we cleared things up and suggested they visit the store during business hours to buy toys. They apologized for the inconvenience and promised not to take anything without permission again.
So friends, sometimes mysterious disappearances aren't about dark forces. Sometimes it's just parents trying to make their kids' lives brighter.
It seems we've been through a lot, but now the fourth challenge awaits us, which turns out to be a real test.
Yes, Labrador, this challenge is like games such as Mario. We need to run and jump, avoiding traps and collecting everything that can help us stop the giant head of this living toy that is trying to catch and eat us.
Now Dobie and I found ourselves in a world reminiscent of classic Mario in 2D. We started on a platform surrounded by green pipes and brick blocks, but the real excitement was ahead. We were being chased by a giant toy head. We had to jump and collect bombs to slow it down.
Exactly, Labrador. These platform jumps are quite the challenge. It feels like being a puppy again, trying to reach high shelves. And those bombs are a real treasure. Throw one, and the head slows down, giving us a chance to run further. Great job, Labrador. We're almost at the finish, friends. And who would have thought that simply escaping from a toy head could be so exciting?
Here we are in the ventilation system, friends, or almost there. We've already made it halfway, and honestly, I'm a little worried. These pipes look like they haven't been cleaned in ages. And the air here, it's not the freshest. But we can't stop now. We need to keep going to get out of this toy store. Who would have thought that toys could be so dangerous?
You're right, Labrador. And these rusty pipes? It smells like an old basement, but it seems like we're no strangers to tough tasks. These old abandoned toys scattered through the sewers are staring at us with their empty eyes. They're definitely not happy to see us, so we need to be careful and stay alert.
We made it through that sewer, and I have no idea how we managed to escape. The toys tried to grab us. Oh, Dobie, look, it's game number 5.
It kind of reminds me of some game, or maybe it's just me. What do you think, guys? Let us know in the comments.
What a challenge. Dobie and I are back in the toy store, and now we have to jump on platforms that are about to start falling. As soon as they turn red, we need to get off, or we're in trouble. Honestly, I'm a bit nervous because these platforms are so slippery that you barely have time to react.
Yeah, Labrador, these platforms are a real headache. You barely land on one before it starts glowing red. It feels like a game of cat and mouse. You almost made it, but it's about to disappear beneath your feet. Of course, we're sheriffs, but here we really need to be extra careful. I even joked a few times that if I fall, I'll land on a soft toy. Whew, we barely made it through this level. What's next? Is this the end?
This toy train looks extremely suspicious. I doubt the exit is here, but we have no other choice. Settle in, Dobie. We're in for a long ride.
Let's go, Sheriff Labrador. I hope we don't encounter any screamers along the way and everything goes smoothly. Oh no, it was a trap.
What do we do now? We're falling straight down. We're going to crash Sheriff Labrador.
Are you here? I see the final arena.
Yes, I'm here. It looks like this is the final challenge. Oh, wait. It's that same living toy in a robo-suit. How do we deal with it, guys? We're facing the main boss, a toy robot threatening us with lasers and a giant metal structure.
Yes, Labrador. This robot means business. It's firing all its weapons and trying to crush us with its huge feet.
But we won't give up. To defeat this boss, we need to aim for its weak spot, the legs. We have rocket launchers, and we need to hit them directly.
Let's act quickly and in sync. Labrador, you take the rocket launcher on the right. I'll take the left. Let's focus fire on its legs while we have the chance. Watch how it opens the vents on its legs.
Now's our chance to attack. Launch the rockets.
Great shot, Labrador. We damaged its leg. Just a bit more and we'll have it.
The boss is getting more aggressive. Watch out. Dodge the lasers and keep attacking its legs.
Another rocket hit the mark. The leg is starting to smoke. We're almost there.
We're on the home stretch. We'll defeat this evil robot. Hooray! We managed to destroy it. They didn't call me Diamond Eye at the Sheriff Academy for nothing. I'm a really good shot. Now we just need to find the way out of here, guys.
You're all the best. You helped us defeat this toy robot. I hope we really won and this isn't another trap.
Hello, friends. Today, Dobie and I have a new mission. We entered the game Roblox and found ourselves in a school. But this is no ordinary school. It has been taken over by an evil gym teacher. There are no more lessons, no students, only silence and chaos. We must stop him and restore order.
I can already see that the situation is serious. Desks are overturned, textbooks are scattered on the floor, lockers are open, and at the end of the hallway, there's a huge banner. Here, PE rules. Labrador, it looks like this teacher has turned the school into his personal gym. We need to act fast before things get worse.
We move forward, but the school seems to come alive. The doors behind us slam shut, and now there's no way out. The only path is forward. I can feel that the teacher is nearby. He's definitely watching us. We need to be ready for any traps.
The hallways look strange. Some walls are crooked, staircases lead to nowhere, and the old school clocks are frozen at the same time. Something is definitely wrong. We carefully make our way forward, staying alert. Soon we'll have to face his challenges, but we won't back down.
We enter the first classroom. Everything is upside down. The board is broken, desks are piled up, and even the posters on the walls worn. Run faster, or you'll stay here forever. This is clearly not just a school, but we are sheriffs, and our job is to save this world.
Getting through this class wasn't easy, but we managed. Beyond it, we found a long hallway leading to the gym. I can already hear the sound of heavy footsteps. The gym teacher is nearby. He doesn't want us to reach him, which means we're on the right track.
The walls are covered with certificates of athletic achievements, but they are scribbled with strange words. The weak do not survive. PE is power. This teacher has gone too far. We need to stop him before the school turns into a nightmare from which no one can escape.
We approach the gym doors. They are massive, made of iron, with the words, "Only the strongest may enter." Behind them awaits the main villain of this school, the teacher himself. It's time for the final showdown.
The doors burst open with a loud crash, and we find ourselves in a massive gym. Old benches line the walls. Rules of training are scribbled everywhere, and in the center stands him. Huge, wearing a tracksuit with a menacing glare. He crosses his arms and smirks at us.
This teacher looks intimidating, but we won't be scared so easily. He clearly wants to test our strength. He's strong and fast, but we're no amateurs either. The key is to stick together, stay calm, and find his weaknesses.
The battle begins. The gym teacher moves fast, but we dodge his attacks. Every step we take brings us closer to victory. He tries to corner us, but we find a way out and keep fighting.
The fight is intense. The teacher throws sports equipment at us, but we skillfully avoid all obstacles. He's not as confident as he was at the start. His energy is draining, but we don't give up. Just a little more, and the school will be free.
And now the final push. The teacher is defeated. He admits his loss and vanishes. The school is under our control again, and now students can return. We did it, Dobie.
Yes, Labrador, this mission wasn't easy, but we did it! Evil has been defeated, the school is saved, and order has been restored. We proved that no one can take over the school as long as the sheriffs are on duty. Great job!
Today, I'm going to tell you a story that started as a routine call but turned into a true test for me and Officer Dobie. It was a day we would never forget. It all began with a distressing call from worried parents. They said their children were staying late at school, and those who did leave looked completely exhausted. We immediately set off to investigate. The school looked strange. The windows were covered with curtains, the yard was empty, and the doors were locked. It seemed like no one was inside, but as soon as we tried to open the door, a loud, commanding voice echoed from the school's intercom.
I recognized that voice instantly. It was Coach Bully, the local gym teacher. He had always been strict, but no one expected him to go this far. His voice echoed through the halls. He declared that the school now belonged to him and that all students had to undergo a real training course. Those who failed the trials would stay in the school forever. He challenged us to prove our strength as well. Labrador and I exchanged glances. Backing down was not in our nature. The moment we stepped forward, iron gates slammed shut behind us. A screen on the wall lit up. Our first challenge was waiting.
We found ourselves in the gymnasium. In front of us was a long path with dozens of rubber balls flying across it at high speed. A single hit could send us tumbling back to the start. We started moving. I ducked as a ball whizzed past just inches from my head. Dobie dodged skillfully, but one ball clipped his side. He stumbled but quickly recovered. We realized that running straight through was a bad idea. We needed to use the equipment as cover. I signaled to Dobie, and we began moving in short bursts, using every column and bench for protection.
The balls kept coming, but we were faster. At the last moment, we leapt behind a wall that led to the next room. The moment we crossed the line, the balls stopped. The first trial was over, but there was no time to celebrate. Ahead of us, the schoolyard doors opened, revealing our next challenge.
On the school's running track, we faced our next test. Hanging from the ceiling were heavy weights, tied to ropes. The rule was simple. If you stopped or slowed down, the weights would drop on you. Coach Bully announced that we had exactly 5 minutes to complete 3 laps. We took off running. The first few meters were easy, but then the weights started swinging, creating new obstacles.
We sped up, trying to predict their movements. I felt one of the weights pass just inches from my back. Labrador barely dodged another. The final lap was the hardest. The weights were falling twice as fast, and we were running on sheer determination. Just as I was about to get caught, Labrador lunged forward and grabbed me by the scruff, pulling me out of danger. We tumbled across the finish line, and the weights came to a halt. Waiting ahead was Coach Bully himself.
We entered the main hall. Coach Bully stood in the center, surrounded by students. He was massive and muscular, and in his hands, he held a whistle, clearly not an ordinary one. He declared that this was the final trial. If we defeated him in a fair fight, the school would be free. If we lost, we would stay there forever.
His whistle turned out to be a weapon. The moment he blew into it, the sound wave hit us so hard that we nearly collapsed. We realized we had to take it from him. I dashed to the side, drawing his attention. Labrador seized the opportunity and lunged forward, knocking the whistle from Bully's hands. The coach roared in anger, but it was too late. Without his whistle, he lost his main advantage.
We used his size against him. As he charged at us, I positioned a gym mat under him, making him lose his balance. Dobie swept his legs out from under him, and Bully crashed to the floor. The students, seeing their greatest fear defeated, stood up to him. They surrounded him and declared that they would no longer obey his rule.
When it was over, the school doors opened and the children ran to freedom. We announced that the school was once again under the protection of the law. Coach Bully was sent for rehabilitation. From now on, PE class would be a place of fun, not fear.
That day taught us a valuable lesson. Victory isn't just about strength, it's about strategy, courage, and teamwork. We saved the school, and now we know, together, no villain stands a chance against us. That day, the world changed. Strange signals began to come from space. At first, we thought it was just static, but soon it became clear. It was a call from aliens. The sky was filled with lights, and we realized we had to act. Dobie and I immediately decided to get to the bottom of this.
Exactly, Labrador. As the signals became more frequent, we began to prepare. The aliens didn't just arrive, they were clearly planning something. We understood that we needed to be ready for anything. At first, they just observed, but soon they began to intensify their actions. We started losing contact with the outside world.
Realizing that we were being influenced, we immediately began constructing antennas to intercept their signals. Each message from them became more and more complex. I never imagined I'd face something like this. We had to figure out what they wanted from us.
When we started decrypting their messages, it became clear. They were preparing for an invasion. We needed to find a way to stop them. At first, we tried negotiating, but they didn't respond. The aliens only strengthened their signals.
Our team developed a special device to block their signals. But as it turned out, that was just the beginning. When we started preparing for the final attack, the aliens began manipulating people, trying to break their will. We knew we had to act fast.
So we created an impulse generator that could destroy their connection. But it was risky. We knew that one mistake and everything could be lost. Nevertheless, we couldn't give up. We pressed the button and the generator started working.
When the generator activated, the aliens began to lose connection. Their ship slowed down, and we felt we had a chance. But it wasn't that simple. They started emitting energy waves, trying to destroy our generator. We had to strengthen the signal.
We connected additional devices. At the last moment, Labrador activated the final impulse that completely shut down the aliens. Their ships began to disintegrate, and the lights in the sky vanished. We won!
The world was saved, but we knew we couldn't relax. This victory taught us to be ready for anything. Dobie and I know that there could be other threats on Earth, and we'll be ready.
Yes, and the most important thing, we realized that together we can face any challenge. This experience became our lesson. We will stand guard over peace, ready to confront any threat.
This living toy wants to catch us. Watch the video until the end to save us. Oh no! Hello, friends! Today, Dobie and I found ourselves in an exciting new Roblox game called Escape the Epic School, Obby. This school looks simply amazing. Bright walls, beautiful classrooms, and hallways. But as soon as we started moving through the school, we realized that something was wrong.
Hello, everyone! Yes, Labrador, you're right. In this school, all the teachers are animated toys. They've gone haywire and have become real threats. The head teacher is a huge head with a police hat and long arms and legs. He looks terrifying, and just seeing him gives you the chills. But that's not the only danger.
The school is indeed impressive with its beauty. Every classroom and hallway shows attention to detail. At first glance, it seems like the perfect place for learning. But we quickly understood that behind this beauty lies something sinister. The toy teachers, who were supposed to entertain children, now pose a serious threat.
One teacher that stood out was a toy pizza. When we first saw him, he seemed quite funny. But as soon as we got closer, he came to life and started chasing us. We quickly realized he was no joke, but thanks to our experience and teamwork, we managed to escape the danger.
All these teachers were once part of the educational process, but something went wrong, and they became the school's guards. We found out they were created to help children learn, but a system failure caused them to act aggressively. This is especially true for the head teacher, a huge head with long limbs. His appearance is truly frightening.
As we progress through the school, we notice how everything is meticulously detailed. The chemistry classroom has real laboratories, the gym has exercise equipment and basketball hoops. But none of this is for us. We need to find an exit and avoid these animated teachers.
With each passing minute, we become more convinced that this school is not an ordinary place. Everything here is designed to keep us inside. We constantly feel the eyes of these toys on us. They watch our every move, and it makes us uneasy.
Despite all these difficulties, we remain optimistic. We know that together we can overcome any obstacles. We've found ourselves in similar situations before and always found a way out. This time, we are not going to give up either.
Thank you for being with us, friends. Your support means a lot to us. We will keep you updated on all our adventures and hope that together we can escape from this epic school.
Stay with us because there's much more excitement ahead. We are confident that we can overcome all challenges and find a way out of this mysterious school. Don't forget to subscribe and like, and you can leave any comment, and we will respond to it.
We have a story about a school. When Dobie and I received an urgent call to the school, I had no idea what awaited us. Usually such calls are related to minor incidents, but not this time. We were informed that the teachers had started acting strangely. They were destroying classrooms, tearing up textbooks, and causing complete chaos. It was unimaginable. Dobie and I immediately realized that this was serious and we needed to act quickly. When we arrived at the scene, the students were already trying to calm their teachers, but it was clear that they had completely lost control.
I had never seen anything like it. Imagine a school where instead of the usual learning process, there is complete chaos. Teachers, who were always examples of order and discipline, suddenly became totally unpredictable. They were breaking desks, scattering teaching materials, and seemed to be in some sort of trance. The students, on the other hand, were trying to calm them down, which was surprising. I saw how the older students took on the role of adults, trying to organize and protect the younger ones. Labrador and I immediately started figuring out what could have caused such behavior in the teachers.
We quickly discovered that everything started when a new history teacher appeared at the school. It was said that he brought with him some ancient artifacts that he used for his lessons. One of these artifacts was a strange box with intricate patterns that he showed to the class. It was right after this that all the problems began. The teachers who saw this box immediately started acting aggressively. We decided we needed to find this box and understand what it was. But where to look in such chaos?
We started our search in the history classroom, but it was a complete mess. All the shelves were overturned, books scattered everywhere. Labrador and I decided to split up to find the box faster. I went to the old cabinets while Labrador checked the desks and drawers. We found a map.
We realized that the map was somehow related to the teacher's hypnosis. We needed to quickly find a way to lift this effect. We approached the school principal, who fortunately had not yet been hypnotized. He told us that he had heard legends about such artifacts, and that the only way to remove their influence was to find the key to these symbols.
Labrador and I set out to find the teacher. The trail led us to an old building on the outskirts of town where he was temporarily living. We entered his room and found numerous books and documents related to magic and hypnosis. Among them, we found a diary where he detailed his experiments with the box and the map. It turned out that he had accidentally activated a spell that caused this chaos. The diary also mentioned that to lift the spell, a ritual needed to be performed in the schoolyard using the map and certain words.
We returned to the school with the map and began preparing for the ritual. The students, despite the chaos, helped us as best they could. We explained to them what needed to be done, and together we started the ritual. Dobie lit the candles while I held the map and read the words from the ancient symbols. Suddenly, everything around us was illuminated by a bright light, and the teachers began to come to their senses. It was an incredible sight. The spell was lifted, and the school gradually returned to normal. The teachers became themselves again, and the students showed that they could handle the most difficult situations. You know, guys, there's another story where you'll recognize your school. Usually in schools there are fights or small pranks, but this time the situation was much more serious. The students decided to play a prank and locked all the doors so no one could get out. They stuffed the toilets with shirts and turned on the water, causing a massive flood. Imagine a school turned into a huge aquarium, with water flooding the halls and classrooms. Dobie and I had to act fast to save the school from destruction.
When we arrived, we were met with an incredible sight. Water was flowing out from under the doors, and inside the school, there was total chaos. Students were in panic, some trying to escape by climbing onto desks and tables. The water kept rising, and the situation was becoming more and more dangerous. We knew we had to act quickly, or the school could suffer even more damage. The first thing we did was contact our elephant friends, who could help us absorb all the water.
While we waited for the elephants to arrive, Dobie and I began evacuating the students. We helped the children get out of the classrooms and directed them to the exits. Some doors were blocked by water, and we had to use our strength to break through the flood. Despite their fear, the students tried to help each other. Dobie and I coordinated their actions to avoid panic and injuries. Meanwhile, the water kept rising, and the situation was getting more critical.
When the elephants arrived, we immediately sprang into action. Thanks to their powerful trunks, the elephants began absorbing the water like giant sponges. It was an impressive sight. They worked quickly and in sync, helping us save the school. The water level gradually started to drop, and the panic among the students eased. The elephants did an incredible job, and thanks to them, the situation was brought under control. Labrador and I continued to oversee the evacuation, helping those who were still inside.
Gradually, thanks to the elephants' efforts, the water level began to fall, and we were able to assess the damage. Many classrooms were flooded, furniture was ruined, and educational materials were lost. However, the most important thing was that no one was hurt. The students and teachers were safe, and that was our main goal. We thanked our elephant friends for their help, as we wouldn't have been able to manage without them. Now we had to deal with the aftermath and figure out who exactly was behind the prank.
We started the investigation, interviewing students and teachers. It turned out that a few high school students decided to play this prank and didn't think about the consequences. They realized what they had done and were genuinely remorseful. We had a disciplinary talk with them, explaining how dangerous such pranks could be. It was important not only to punish the guilty, but also to teach them responsibility for their actions.
In the end, the school returned to normal life. We helped organize repairs and restore the damaged property. The students and teachers learned how important it is to be cautious and think about the consequences of their actions. Dobie and I were glad everything ended well and that we managed to prevent a catastrophe in time. This story became a lesson for everyone, showing that even the most innocent-looking pranks can lead to serious consequences.
And that's how this unusual story ended. Once again, we were reminded how important it is to be attentive and responsible, and our elephant friends showed that they are always ready to help in tough times. It's important to remember that together we can tackle any problem, and true strength lies in unity and mutual support.
And don't forget, despite all these challenges, we still find moments for laughter and joy. The Epic School is just one of the many adventures we're experiencing thanks to you. Your likes and comments are what motivate us to keep going and overcome all difficulties.
Absolutely! So don't worry, we'll be back here to finish this adventure and defeat the main teacher. We'll continue searching for a way out. And of course, we'll make sure to tell you how we managed to do it.
Friends, Peppa Pig has turned evil and wants to make me just like her. Watch the video until the end to save me. Hello, friends. Today we find ourselves in the most unusual place, the house of Peppa Pig, which has turned into a prison. It's a real nightmare. Peppa and her family have become very mean, and now we have to escape from here.
Yes, Labrador. Hello, everyone. We entered the house and everything looks creepy. Peppa was always a sweet pig, but something has changed her. Now she and her family run this prison. We need to figure out what happened and get out of here.
Peppa used to be just a playful pig, but it seems something has really angered her. Maybe it's because she's tired of the constant attention and noise around her family. Her world has become dark, and now she's trying to trap everyone who enters her house.
I think her anger might be related to feeling lonely and misunderstood. Her house is now full of traps and dangers. We need to be very careful not to fall into one of them.
Our journey will not be easy, but we will definitely make it. The main thing is to stick together and not lose hope. We will find a way to escape and bring Peppa back to her kind self. Guys, have you watched cartoons with Peppa Pig? I watched, and I remember that she was always a very kind pig, but look at what she has become.
With each new room, it gets scarier. Peppa's house is full of secrets and dangers, but we are not giving up. We will definitely find a way out and uncover the mystery of why Peppa and her family have become so mean.
Don't forget, friends, that together we can overcome any difficulties. We will go through all the obstacles and find our way to freedom. Stay with us. This will be an exciting adventure.
Stay close, and we will definitely escape this prison. Our mission is to set everything right and make Peppa's house bright and cheerful again. Onward to adventure.
Perhaps something important awaits us at the end of this journey. Maybe we can find a way to reconcile Peppa with her feelings. But for now, we need to focus on each step, on each challenge. Every success brings us closer to our goal. Do you see how creepy it is here? Guys, like the video and subscribe to the channel.
And with each step, we become stronger. This adventure teaches us that even in the darkest places, light can be found. We will learn to handle any difficulties and always keep moving forward.
Dobie, we've been through a lot, but this challenge is special. We are not just fighting for our freedom, but also for Peppa's freedom. This makes our adventure even more meaningful. This Roblox map reminds me of something. I have a feeling we'll be fighting a Peppa Pig boss at the end, so watch until the end.
We will definitely get out and help Peppa. It's our duty as sheriffs and friends. We will overcome all obstacles and bring peace back to Peppa's house. I can't believe this used to be her home. I watched the cartoons and visited Peppa's house before, and it was completely different. Honestly, I'm very scared, Labrador. I hope the viewers aren't as scared as I am.
A few months ago, Dobie and I decided to visit our friends in the neighboring town. Peppa Pig had invited us to a party in honor of her younger brother George's birthday. We arrived early in the morning and were happy to see the town preparing for the celebration. Bright garlands were hung everywhere, and cheerful music was playing.
At Peppa's house, it was very fun and cozy. The party was in full swing. Children were laughing and playing, and adults were discussing news and enjoying treats. Everything was going great, and no one suspected that unfriendly eyes were watching Peppa's house. Labrador and I didn't notice the suspicious types right away, but our keen sense soon led us to an unpleasant suspicion.
While the guests were having fun in the garden, Dobie and I decided to look around and check if everything was okay. We noticed strange tracks behind the house and realized that someone was planning something bad. A few minutes later, we saw two strangers sneaking towards Peppa's house with the intention of robbing it. They clearly didn't expect to meet us there.
Labrador and I acted quickly and efficiently. While I circled the house from one side, Labrador took up a position on the other. We knew we had to prevent the robbery and protect Peppa and her family. At that moment, the robbers were already trying to break in through the back door, unaware that they were being watched.
When the uninvited guests realized that their plan had been uncovered, they tried to escape. However, we didn't give them that chance. Dobie tackled one of the robbers and pinned him to the ground while I quickly caught up with the second one. Thanks to our quick reaction and coordinated actions, we apprehended both criminals.
Peppa's family was very grateful for our help. We handed the robbers over to the local police and returned to the party. Everything happened so fast that most of the guests didn't even realize what had occurred. The party continued, and everyone was glad that it ended well.
That day showed us how important it is to always be on alert, even in a festive atmosphere. Dobie and I did everything possible to protect our friends and prevent the criminals from ruining the party. We are glad we could help, and once again confirmed that together we are an unbeatable team.
At the end of the day, when we were heading home, we discussed how important it is to always be ready for the unexpected. We are glad that our visit to Peppa ended so well and that we could prevent the robbery. It was another reminder that sheriffs are always on guard, and no matter what happens, we will always come to the rescue. And they also gave us a huge cake.
Not long ago, there was an incident. Could this be why Peppa became angry? Peppa Pig went missing. The whole town was in panic because Peppa is one of the most beloved residents. The locals immediately started spreading the word that she had disappeared without a trace. Dobie and I, of course, couldn't ignore this. We decided we had to help find her. When we arrived in Peppa's town, her family and friends greeted us, and everyone was very worried. Peppa had never left without notice, and leaving her little brother George behind was simply impossible. Everything seemed very strange.
We started by thoroughly examining the house. At first glance, nothing seemed unusual. The doors were locked and the windows were intact. But I noticed a strange trail in the grass near the fence. It led into a forest located not far from Peppa's house. Labrador immediately pointed out that this could be an important clue. We decided to follow the trail. The farther we went, the more mysterious the trail became. At first it was clear, but soon it disappeared among the bushes. However, our experienced noses helped us find additional tracks that led to an old shed on the edge of the forest.
When we reached the shed, it was quiet and dark. Dobie and I couldn't understand what might be inside. I peered in and suddenly noticed something moving in the corner. It was something strange, almost like a shadow. We went inside and saw an old cage with Peppa inside. She was sitting there, crying and scared. It turned out she had been kidnapped by local troublemakers who decided to play a prank and hide her to see how everyone would react. They never expected us to be so quick on the trail.
Labrador and I quickly freed Peppa and took her back home. Peppa was shocked, but soon recovered and thanked us for rescuing her. The town was overjoyed when she returned, and all the residents gathered in the main square to congratulate us on the successful operation. The mystery was solved, and the mean troublemakers were punished. In the end, Peppa returned to her cozy life, and everyone was happy again. Labrador and I felt proud of our work, but the most important thing was that we brought Peppa home and restored peace to the town.
Once, some scammers came to our town and started handing out candy to the children. At first glance, everything seemed peaceful, and no one suspected that something dangerous might be behind it. But as soon as children started disappearing, Dobie and I realized that something was wrong. Soon it became clear that the candy was a trap. The scammers were kidnapping children to force them to work in their factories, making them do whatever they were told.
Yes, the situation was very tense. We started investigating, and it turned out that the scammers used a clever device that made the children lose consciousness. After that, they would take them to unknown places, where they were forced to work in a toy factory. Of course, we couldn't allow this, and as soon as we learned what was going on, we immediately took action.
First, we had to find the criminals' hideout. We knew they were hiding somewhere on the outskirts of town, but the exact location was unknown. We followed the trail, questioned a few locals, and found out that strange things were happening near an abandoned warehouse. When we arrived there, we saw that the children were indeed being kept in dark basements, forced to work on dangerous machines.
Labrador and I acted right away. We used our special team, sheriff detectives, to infiltrate the warehouse and neutralize the scammers. We didn't know how many of them were there and weren't sure if we could make it in time, but fortunately, we were prepared. We hid in the shadows and crept up to the main entrance. As soon as we saw the children working under the supervision of two scammers, we decided to act.
One of them even tried to notice us, but I quickly jumped out from behind the corner and detained him. Dobie immediately slapped on the handcuffs. The second scammer tried to run away, but I blocked all the exits, and he couldn't escape. We freed the children, and they immediately ran to the exit. We quickly notified all the parents, and they came to take their children home.
Labrador and I acted right away. We used our special team, sheriff detectives, to infiltrate the warehouse and neutralize the scammers. We didn't know how many of them were there and weren't sure if we could make it in time, but fortunately, we were prepared. We hid in the shadows and crept up to the main entrance. As soon as we saw the children working under the supervision of two scammers, we decided to act.
We've defeated the evil boss Peppa. Now she should start feeling better because this costume had infected her. We'll definitely visit Peppa soon, but for now, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to our channel. We're off to the next Roblox modes.